season of Grooving Smooth and Live on GBN. Grooving Smooth and Live is a 1-hour performance gig every Thursday from 8 p.m. featuring performances from our local musicians and short interviews discussing all things musical. Every Thursday, a different musician and a different instrument will be featured, from the violin to the saxophone to the trumpet, guitar, and steel pan. Our local musicians playing, improvising, and educating us on all genres of music. Join GBN with host musicians Matthias and Shireen, and a special guest every Thursday at 8 p.m. It's Grooving Smooth and Live on GBN.
That's not how you cross the pedestrian crossing.
Really? One day I just woke up and I saw pedestrian crosswalks on the road. No one really showed me how to use them properly.
Well, this is how it's done. You never cross before doing these things. They might save your life. First, when you get to the crosswalk, you stop. You look left, you look right. If there's a vehicle coming, you put your hand out, making eye contact with the driver, indicating that you want to cross. And only when the vehicle comes to a complete stop, you quickly cross to the other side.
Stop, look, hand out, eye contact. Wait for pedestrian to cross to the other side, then you happily continue on your journey. This message is brought to you by this group of insurance companies, the Traffic Advisory Body, and the Traffic Department.
My granddaughter.
Wonderful good morning to you, Grenada, Carriacou, Martinique, the rest of the Eastern Caribbean, to you, wherever you are. It is Classic in the Morning Time, Classic 105.5, 105.9 on the FM band. I want to say thank you for being with us all morning, and welcome back to our viewers on television, those of you on Channel 7, Channel 11, and Channel 20 if you're on cable. And thank you again and welcome to those of you that's joining us on a various social media platform, be it YouTube, Facebook, and those of you on the World Wide Web at www.gbn.gd. Welcome to another episode of To The Point, the final one, actually, for the month of March. And indeed, it's a pleasure being here with you. I'm Joseph Cadore. My guest this morning, there's two household names that over the years we've become much more than just household names. They become friends and brothers to us. Presidents of the Grenada Union of Teachers, that's Jude Bartholomew, and President of the Public Workers Union, Brian Grimes. Gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the program. How are you?
Thank you to everybody, all the listeners and viewers out there, all the GBN fans and all the citizens of Grenada, even in the diaspora. Pleasant good morning on behalf of myself and the Grenada Public Workers Union.
Jude?
Yes, good morning to you, sir. It's a pleasure to be on the program again. So I'd like to say good morning to our listening public, to our teachers, our executive members of the Grenada Union of Teachers, and to our virtual members, listening public.
I'm trying to recall, I've seen, the last time I saw, I've had two union leaders on together with a smile that is as broad as everything we once hoped for and inspired and dreamed about in our more youthful years. Jude, starting off with you. The last couple of days has given you, as president, a lot to smile about, hasn't it?
Yes, it's wonderful to smile sometimes. I think sometimes, I've been serious for a long period of time on the battlefield, but it's a good thing to relax the jaw and to relax the face for a little while with good news.
Share with us what that good news has been for those who have probably they've not been privy to it. A judgment, there's been a ruling, the judgment has been handed down in favor of the union regarding the pension saga, as it is.
Yes, that is true. The pension saga, we know that public officers, teachers have been suffering for a long time, we say, with the humiliation and disgrace of the Pension Disqualification Act. And we know that teachers and other public officers have been suffering, for a long period of time with the retirement and the injustice. And we have been fighting that battle for a long period of time. All right, we know that all that we went into that, we have lost our salaries, dark salaries and everything, all right, fighting for pension restoration. As a result of that, the three unions, the Grenada Union of Teachers, Public and Workers Union, and Technical and Allied Workers Union, did challenge that matter in courts, the pension matter, and we were victorious. So we just want to give God thanks and praise, and we say it's a worthy call for celebration and for a deep smile.
I can well imagine. Brian, I'm assuming the sentiments, it's quite the same or even greater from the PW.
Yes. Certainly, I share the sentiments of my comrade from the Grenada Union of Teachers regarding this historic judgment. There has been so much of injustice in our land regarding this pension matter for nearing 4 decades, nearly 40 years. And this judgment, for me as president, I'm so happy for the membership. I'm so happy for everybody within the labor movement who work in the public service. And it came on such a wonderful day, our annual general meeting, which was started for the 29th of this month. And I read it out to the members who were present, and all physically as well as virtually. But I would be remiss, Brother Cadore, if I did not publicly thank, first of all, the Almighty God for this judgment, for our people, and also coming right behind the Almighty God, obviously, are the workers, yes, but the lawyers, QC Jimmy Bristol, Mr. Cajetan Hood, and Mr. Ruggles Ferguson, basically working pro bono, working into the wee hours of the night to ensure that justice prevailed. We were confident that based on the legal case, that we were going to come out on top. On a moral level, we are confident of that also. But they must be heralded, respected for the work they have done, basically pro bono, free of cost, just so that public officers can realize justice in our land. And I must also thank our predecessors. I had the privilege of serving under 2 presidents, Sister Madonna Harford, Brother Adrian Francis, and Sister Rachel Roberts. And each one of them in their own way had something to do with the point where we are at right now. Sister Madonna Harford is one of the most knowledgeable people about pension in this country and its importance. And Brother Adrian Francis, I have the image in my head of him walking with Hermelin Armstrong Cox when her judgment, when she bravely stepped forward as an individual to represent basically not herself alone, but many other public officers. Brother Adrian was side by side with her on that journey. And you know how passionate Sister Rachel Roberts was or is still about pension in this country. So hats off to our predecessors and everybody. So it's a great day, and we look forward to the implementation of this judgment.
I mean, we often hear a lot about injustices in the land on various sides of depending which the fence you're on. But this, as you said, this is gone. This is a generation has come and gone. And I mean, the taste of victory now, certainly, it highlights, I'm not sure what it highlights, but what in your mind, Mr. Bartholomew, are the greater lessons to be learned here in terms of what has transpired, what was allowed to transpire over the last 30 years, the injustice of which you speak?
Well, it seems as what it shows that we can't take benefits in the land, whether constitutionally for granted. All right, and what it shows that as trade unionists, we have to be vigilant. We're talking also public officers and teachers, which if we just sit down there and do nothing, we don't keep our guards, we can be in trouble. So I think, and yes, generations suffered from that, but that ruling is not only for teachers and public officers right now, but for generations to come. And that is the thing sometimes when you're fighting a cause as trade unionists, sometimes the general public see it as if, well, the teachers and the public officers are really fighting a battle, and sometimes they don't understand what you are doing. But what happened there with that judgment? We have laid the foundation for the young people to come. It means, therefore, that the young children, young people coming up, when they become workers and in the field of work, they would not go through that sort of humiliation and injustice that we went through. So we have now, what you say, the fight of the trade unions, all the different persons involved or union involved, has basically now restore workers' integrity, all right? And you may say not only jobs security, but financial security for retirement. And that is the crux of the matter. What we're saying to public officers, trade unionists, and everybody, and not only that, the general society, we take for granted certain things in our country because we are in a democratic system of governance. All right, but if we're not careful, the politicians can just erode it and pull it away. And that is what happened to pension then. Because this pension is a constitutional matter. And that is what I'm saying, and I said it a long time ago. The framers of the Constitution, they smartly put it there. And why do you think they put it in the Constitution? Because they did not trust our politicians to handle that. They did not trust our politicians. And I said today, probably Eric Matthew Geary is smiling probably in his grave. And probably giving a deep smile in the botanical garden with the statue there. Because here, this man, together with white people, sometimes we go down and we say, our colonial masters, but they ensure, even with the white people and Sir Eric Matthew Geary, the framers of the Constitution, they put it there for us. And who are the ones who took it out? Our own people.
So let me ask you, though, the issue of pension was one that was originally enshrined in the Constitution. We could fully understand what happened between the period of 1979 to 83, and we're not getting into that.
Yes.
But one way I argue, Brian, whether or not our leaders, political leaders, are they that narrow-minded, myopic, or they say that they just totally lack the testicular fortitude to stand up and represent the people of which they take an oath to represent, that for more than 30 years, a generation has come and gone, and this issue has just been there as though, well, where to from here?
Yes, Brother Cadore, I think you hit the nail on the head with that question. And throughout this journey, what sticks with me as a trade union leader is the fact that Cap 232 exists, and this act refers to parliamentarians' pension. So post the revolution, the collapse of the revolution, politicians ensured that they could get their pensions, Brother Cadore. We talk about the fact that they can collect it at the age of 55 years. They made sure of that. All right, they made sure that within a short cycle, 8 years of service, and it doesn't have to be connected, that they can get a pension. And in the same vein, where they had the opportunity to do the same for public officers who are the lifeblood of this country, they did not take that opportunity. So what you speak for is basically a crisis of implementation in this country. And this government admittedly has an issue with implementation. The pension issue could not have gone up. It will not go away. It did not go away. You see the pain it has caused. You see the poverty it has caused in our country. And so the politicians were operating on wishful thinking. So today, after a long journey, we have gotten the just judgment, and we look forward again to that implementation.
And Jude,
I would like to come in there, Brother Carlo, to strengthen what Brother Grimes is saying. What we are seeing here as a nation is really the selfishness of our politicians. The selfishness, because these are the politicians, they come to you when election time and everybody, and they love you so much. They love you so much, yes, they love you. But if they love us, let's show on record. You love us so much and you deny us basically of our daily bread. And when they are doing it at the time, because the most important times of basically an individual is when you are the infant stage, a baby, and when you basically in your old age or retirement, once a man, twice a child. And at that time, they cutting you off of income. And when one look at it, it's a lesson for us as Grenadian society. We ought to be very careful with politicians because they come to us and they use us conveniently. They tell us they love us, but they do not show it really and truly and put the money where the words are and to match. To say to us, if you love us, well, give us our pension. And we have to fight and fight and fight. And what is so embarrassing is that these same politicians, they get gratuity all the time. We couldn't even get our gratuity. Our gratuity is not the politicians doing us a favor. It's the money that we work for and basically the sum of pension, and they advance a sum of it, a portion for you, 25% in advance. But the politicians, every time election comes around, they get their gratuity. Can you count as a nation the amount of time some of these politicians who in power for a long time get gratuity? And they still getting some of them based on the job, the NIS benefits, and they still getting the pension. While our workers, teachers, and public officers, you work for 30 and 40 years. Where is the conscience of these people? Because they come in office for some time, 8 years, and they get a pension. And somebody work for 40 years and 30 years, and you have to go home and cry and running all out by the road to look for fruits and to sell something and doing that with no income. That is a shame.
So the question that begs to be asked now, so the judgment has been handed down, the news is out. Where to from here as it relates to your membership? What's the next step? But while we do that, though, I want us to also, because we're gonna focus in on, there was a statement that was actually released yesterday, a statement by the government of Grenada, delivered by the Minister of Legal Affairs, Honorable Kindra Matuin-Stewart, because on the heels of the judgment, there was talks in the air that the government had made that decision to appeal to the High Court decision. But just to, based on the statement released yesterday, reports that the government of Grenada has decided to appeal a High Court ruling of March 29, 2022 against the state of Grenada on the pension issue is a contemporary misrepresentation. Representatives of the government are yet to discuss at cabinet or the legal level, much less to come up with a decision on what its reaction should be on the matter. As it stands right now, government awaits the written judgment and a full legal briefing. Any attempted representation of the government's reaction is premature and largely speculative, if not in so much instance mischievous. Where to from here, gentlemen?
Well, yeah. If I may take it first, I don't know if I may take it first and Brother Grimes would follow. We have to really smile. Because really and truly, if the government really decide to appeal this case, the government basically fighting against its workers, fighting against its citizens, the teachers and public officers. And one would want to remind the Honorable Prime Minister and the government of Grenada on his word that he came on record and said to the nation that if the court ruled, he was going to respect the judgment of the court. And so the court ruled in our favor. We are law-abiding citizens. So if the court ruled in our favor, I don't understand how the government probably would think about appealing that judgment. So that would be a protest on the government of Grenada to do something like that. I was very happy last night, on the other hand, when I heard what the Honorable Minister said, that they're not thinking about appealing it, but we're going to work together to see where we go from here. I think, number one, what we want the government of Grenada to do is to uphold the decision of the courts with the restoration of full pension for teachers and public officers. I think what probably we have to discuss, we know that there are backlog in cases. The persons before and the government tax and do as if billions of dollars of pension and so many persons. If you really check it and we do the research, not a lot of persons before really and truly have to get compensation for pension. We know that we have. So we have to negotiate in terms of they sit down and discuss with the government of Grenada the retroactive payment for persons to come, and how do we decide that? How do we go forward in making that payments for the backlog of cases? But I think after that, what should happen going forward? Persons who have to get their pension and entitled they retire, going forward, I think it's set clear for us. But the Grimes will take it from there.
Brian?
Yeah, well, I listened to what you just read, Brother Cadore, and I was a bit amused by it. Sometimes when you listen to statements or you read statements, you have to listen or read into what was not said. It was not categorically stated that they would not appeal. They said they have to sit and discuss. So that is up in the air.
But before you go on, but in all fairness, because the general talk on the ground was as to suggest that the government had taken a position on it. So in all fairness, I mean, to them, they're categorically saying that wherever those feelings came from, it is not a clear representation of the government's position, though. So at least we have to categorically accept that.
All right, good. And I'm happy you brought that up in defense of the government and the integrity. But let me just say this, Brother Cadore. Mm-hmm. The unions, the Grenada Public Workers Union, have not had favorable encounters with government regarding their word on matters. We don't have to go back very far to 2018 when we had an MOU signed, and suddenly after election came and went and they were victorious and formed a monopoly government, we had to face the indignity of a 2% gratuity offer. So words, as far as we are concerned, a win. We are looking for tangible benefits right now. We are not looking for extreme dialogue. We are looking to sit, yes, and speak about the implementation phase, but the courts have ruled. And again, I want to put it on record that if the government decides to go to the appeal end, this will be a miscarriage of justice, it will be a travesty of justice, and it will indicate that they do not care about public officers or the country in general. But because of this pension issue, many people have retired into poverty, which redounds unfavorably to the economy on a whole, the country on a whole. So if the government has vested interest in this country, they would look towards speedy implementation of this, where they have been delayed for decades. Also in that statement, I gathered, not what you read, but what I read on my own, that this current administration is talking about past government. But the fact is, Cadore, my brother, and our citizens, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell has been political leader in charge of this country 95% of the time, in my humble view, for the past 30-something years. So we are not going to talk about past this and past that. Let us do what we have to do and what we have delayed upon for too long. The opportunity is now for transformation in this country, and we should grab it to both hands. 23
minutes gone past the hour. To continue with the statement. The statement says the only firm decision the government has taken in the 24 hours since the ruling to declare its intention was to invite the trade union to have a discussion on the latest development. As it has been, especially since 2018, the government not only stands for open dialogue, but has initiated it on many occasions as part of a consultative approach on matters of national interest. The formal request for continued dialogue will go out officially today, which is the date on the release yesterday. So I'm assuming that communique has either been received or on its way. But in the meantime, though, there are a few things, according to the release, that must be made clear in this scenario. One, the government is completely committed to the cause of all workers. Two, while the matter is one that has been inherited by this and previous governments, there has never been a lack of commitment, but by at least this current government, to find a lasting and fair solution. And we just could hint to the third one. Everyone must be cognizant that no government now or in the immediate future will be able to find immediately the over $1 billion required without bankrupting the entire society. Gentlemen, except say read and form the statement by the government.
Well, obviously the government of Grenada, they will do that. All right, that is the line of attack and everything like that, to send the trend to make the Grenadian populace sort of afraid or being frightened. Yes, the teachers and public officers, that judgment come in their favor. And if the government were to, in other words, what they put out that statement saying the government will be irresponsible to honor the judgment of the courts. And what the government has done there is to kind of set the foundation in sense to sort of shift the responsibility. And I think it is sort of wrong and unfair. It is wrong and unfair and unfortunate. In fact, the Honorable Minister did say that we're going to dialogue and negotiate to get a little something, more or less a little something. So what is that something? We went in the court to speak against this 70% or this 10% that the government of Grenada basically giving to pensioners, to teachers and public officers who retire. So what is that little something? Then it's probably better we didn't go in the court. In other words, what the judgment said that you must reinstate or restore that pension for public officers. And that's what the court saying. What you doing now and what you did is null and void. So if you have to restore the persons before, there are persons who get in the pension and they get in the NS, they get in the full benefits. So what would the discussion be? I think the only negotiation there, part of the negotiation is to see how we pay in the backlog. Because yes, we know, as the government tried to say, billions of dollars, and that is not true. So we must negotiate to say, well, okay, how are we going to decide on a plan to pay the backlog of the persons who basically for a long time been sitting there for pension? Well, I think it's kind of disingenuous of what the government is saying and telling us now that we're going to get a little something and we're going to do this and that. I think that is wrong.
Gentlemen, let me ask you, though, because I think it's a question that's begged, that needs an answer. In response to looking at the statement as it is, regarding that which needs to be paid, has the union sat down and done its own calculations? Because you keep hearing, if we do this, this is the inevitable repercussion. We are going to die a slow death if we do this. But has the union sat down and crunched the numbers as to what it's going to cost us in the immediate to address the retroactive and going forward? Brian?
Yeah. What I can say, the union has calculated to the best of its ability the pain, the tears, the sadness, the unfairness that these successive governments have perpetuated on our people and our workers over the past few years. Now, when it comes to paying public officers, you see a trend here in this country. You see we have to march the streets. You see we have to advocate in the media. You see we have to plead and beg, and you see we have to go to court. There wasn't this heavy agitation to pay Grenlec $200 million of taxpayers' money to purchase a company that there was no immediate need in this country to do so. But whenever it comes to satisfy the needs of the lifeblood of this country or public officers, there is always an issue. So, yes, we have made our calculations. I spoke to it earlier, and it is the government who sits in that seat of power and who have refused to do the right thing and implement this thing at an early stage that are faced with this. Yes, we will dialogue with them. But our major concern now is that we get our pension as public officers, just as they have enacted laws in Parliament to protect themselves financially and socially. Our time is now.
It's exactly 29 minutes gone past the hour in the morning time. This is To The Point for today, the last day of the month of March. My guest this morning, just before we go to the break, introduce them to you, President Jude Bartholomew of the Grenada Union of Teachers and President Brian Grimes of the Public Workers Union. We'll take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back right here on To The Point.
Join GBN on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. for Interesting Grenadians, a program that showcases the lives of interesting and outstanding Grenadians at home and abroad. It's It's Interesting Grenadians every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. on GBN. Don't you miss it.
Get ready for a season of grooving smooth and live on GBN. Grooving Smooth and Live is a 1-hour performance gig every Thursday from 8 p.m. featuring performances from our local musicians and short interviews discussing all things musical. Every Thursday, a different musician and a different instrument will be featured, from the violin to the saxophone to the trumpet, guitar, and steel pan. Our local musicians playing, improvising, and educating us on all genres of music. Join GBN with host musicians Matthias and Shireen and a special guest every Thursday at 8 p.m. It's Grooving Smooth and Live on GBN.
Thank you. Welcome back to the program, To The Point, for today, the 31st day of the month of March. In case you're just joining us, my guests this morning, and Jude Bartholomew, President of the Grenada Union of Teachers, and Brian Grimes, President of the Grenada, the Public Workers Union. The conversation focuses on the judgment handed down by the High Court in favor of the union regarding the pension issue. And we've highlighted, gentlemen, this is the generation has come and gone. We talk about any position not to uphold would be a travesty of justice. But let's look deep at this, gentlemen. Let's look deep at this. And we hinted to it earlier. We've had this been enshrined in our Constitution. We've talked about for years the battles that have been fought on different fields. North America, here at home, Uriah's Butler, Cipriani, all our union bosses that has fought for the rights of the average, everyday individual. Me, you, and very often, though, there are those who seem to think, and we've hinted to the different ways, that this fight is for a special niche group. This is a fight for our future, for our lives, for all and sundry, gentlemen. Some, however, Jude, seem to think it otherwise.
Yeah, so let me come in there probably before Brother Grimes. That's what I have been saying. This pension, if one look at it, I think the whole nation should be rejoicing it. The whole nation. Because you know what this restoration of pension does? That is not only for the teacher today, or the nurses, or the doctors, or police officers. This security of pension goes deep into the family. Because what you think about grandma tomorrow, grandma the age who might be 80, or your mom somewhere there who might be 90, and that teacher at age 60 would have retired. And at the same time, sometimes you are still, even if you retire, you are the one probably with that responsibility. You know, when children walk in, a lot of parents, they invest in their children's education and they depend on the children to take care of them probably for the rest of their lives. So can you imagine that you are a dad or a mom or an aunt, you reach an age of 60, 70, 80, you depend on your children still at age 60, they retire, and they have nothing to help you with. The restoration of pension would also, give a sort of mental stability, security, and everything like that. So for not only for the teachers and public officers, but other members of the family. And also, I think that there is a great day, we said, for the children, the young generation, the babies in the womb, and even the young children should be smiling and laughing, even if they don't understand the consequences of this judgment. Because what have been laid down is setting job security and financial security for them in the future. So I think that is what we have to look at it. And we don't want the nation to think, and that's how we have to be very careful when the government comes and say, yes, we don't want the government to bust the treasury. We want everybody, the poor and the ordinary, the simple, we want government to take the responsibility to assist everybody. But at the same time, the government have to be careful because they have like two public service You have two public service running concurrently and all those things like that. And we have to look for wastage in the country where resources are wasted in the sense. And there it must be diverted into doing what you have to do to assist your people. Give God what belongs to God and Caesar what belongs to Caesar.
Hold the line, gentlemen. We have a caller that's on the line. Good morning, caller. You're live. Good morning, caller. You're live. We seem to have lost the caller. The number on the inside 435-2041. I remind you that you too on Facebook, that's part of the conversation. You can post your comments, questions there as well, or you can submit it via the WhatsApp portal 435-2041. Mr. Comrade Grimes, your thoughts?
Yes.
So here we are, and the question begs, what is the general mood, though? Have you been able, you said you had your AGM. What's the mood on the ground, though, for your teachers, the Public Workers Union? What's the general consensus?
Well, it's hard for me to determine. After AGM, I have not interacted fully with members, but it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer, Cadore. Our workers will be ecstatic. Some are a bit numb because they are accustomed. I have to say it. I have to be honest. They are accustomed with certain things, and you know, when good things happen, there are forces that seem to try and strip it away from them continuously. So they are cautious with their elation, but there are those who are very euphoric, such as myself. I'm very happy for this judgment, and I can safely say that many of our workers are also on that same emotional space as we speak right now. But you spoke earlier to something about a niche, and it's only for a particular set of workers and or citizens in this country. But you know, I beg to differ respectfully. And when you spoke about that, I got a little bit emotional in the sense that, you know, I received calls from workers regarding the pension. And one call that stuck out to me is a worker that was trying to get the 70% that government is offering and was rejected on a technicality, right? And this is what the government posts about the 70%. And they were rejected. And then they said to me this, and I want the nation to listen to this. They said to me, well, Brother Grimes, I may have to consider going on the seed program because the little NIS that I get can't supplement. So we have people that are reduced to this, their dignity is lost, and they have to go on the seed program. They said to me, you know, I can't even get a little birthday gift for my grandchild, and so forth. So this is a very, very serious matter. It goes outside the box of what we call just the public officers and the public service. This is about a nation. The Prime Minister himself has been on record as saying, no modern society can call themselves that if we don't have a viable social security scheme. The tapes are there. Don't just believe what Brian Grimes said, go back and look. So this is where we are. So this is a national matter, and this is not just a public service matter.
And this, in fact...
Brother Cadore, just allow me to reinforce what I'm saying there. There are lots of teachers and other public officers who the government comes out and say the 70% or the 10% that they're giving to make up the 70%. Lots of those teachers, when they apply for it, they go for it, they don't get it, they are turned down. And there are lots of teachers and public officers. I could think about Teacher Pam right now, who passes the age, basically, she's not 60 years yet, so she cannot get the NIS benefit. She wants to retire. The years for pension, 26 and 2 years. One leg. She's in the hospital all the time. She has a stroke. Look at Anne-Marie, who died a few months ago. And so many teachers and public officers who are sick, probably with cancer and other terminal disease. And they have to be fighting to come to work. Not that they really want to come to work, you know, because they do not have another source of income. So they come into work sick, in pain, and all those things, and because of that situation. And I think that it just tells you what is really, really happening. And the last point I want to make is that, you know, for NIS and such, you have to wait until you reach age 60. When you get in your pension, if you are the age of 55 or whatever that situation, you're sick and you decide, well, you're going to call it a day, Can you imagine somebody who retires and have to wait, you retire at 55, and you have to wait for 5 years until you're 60 to get 50% from NIS and 10% from government? You can't get it before 60. What are you living with? What is your source of income? And that is the seriousness. And that's why persons, teachers are jubilated. They are jumping up in joy. I tell you that. And the rest of the public servants, all where you go, people are happy with that ruling.
Indeed, I mean, I guess you could well imagine. But you talked about, and looking at this thing holistically, and we've often talked about the health of the nation being the wealth of the nation. And it begs, if you look a little bit deeper into this introspectively, that you have a case, okay, I'm working, and we've highlighted over and over these contract arrangements that's been in place for a lot of public workers. So you're in a system where there is no security of tenure. And yet, after you've retired, you still have to ask yourself the question, about 20 years, I'm not happy now, I'm not even sure if I have a job for tomorrow, and yet while I'm working, I still have to be taxing my brain to figure out what happens 20 years down the line. Gentlemen, how long does this go on for?
But before Brother Grimes go on it, and then I will come. Brother Grimes.
Yeah, no, I am listening to you, and you are basically laying out, articulating what's happening in the public service. The authorities are engineering the povertization and the pauperization of the public service and generally the country, because they have new type of contracts, right, which limits your long-term security, which precludes you from getting a pension, which precludes you from getting a viable loan. And I just want to add here, I just want to take the opportunity to add here, the loan scheme offered by government at GDP has been an abysmal failure because many workers, contract workers, have not met the qualification standard. And our officers within our bargaining unit are not getting it. At the top of the list, our traffic wardens, which we are happy for and so forth. But what it was meant to do, it is not doing. So no pension, then these type of contracts, which I've spoken of on this program and other programs at length, this government, I will say it unabashedly, has been guilty of povertizing the public service based on its policies, and the union continues to trial.
We have a caller that is... Just hold for me, Jude. Hold for me, Jude. We have a caller that is on the line. Good morning, caller. You're live.
Good morning, Joe, and good morning to your guest, President of the GUT and the PWU. Solidarity forever. What a day. We've waited so long. I feel the pain. I am feeling the joy. And to those of our fallen heroes who have demonstrated publicly, one-man demonstration, and would have gone to the great beyond, not, getting that results. I say, wherever you are, I know you're looking down on us. Take a bow to your relatives. I know you feel victorious, and God is good, and God is good all the time.
Before I come back to you, Jude, I just want to share some feedback, some comments that's coming off via social media this morning. This person says, if government appeals, whose money are they using to pay the lawyers? Is it taxpayers' money, which government claims it doesn't have, to pay public workers? A question that is being asked. Another contributor says Grenadians need to stand up and talk up or go out and protest for their rights in this country. Gentlemen, I think I'm assuming you listening, that's probably a fair representation of what the union has been advocating and asking for all along.
So I'll come in there before I respond to take up what Brother Grimes was saying. And that is our line of agreement too. That's where we will see the government for who they are. Because here they're talking about scarce resources. And to appeal a judgment is to use taxpayers' money, scarce resources that could go in terms of improving the lives of the Grenadian people, and then to give a Queen's Counsel or somebody millions of dollars to appeal a case against the Grenadian people who are hurting or have been denied pension for a long time is an embarrassment to the nation and an embarrassment to the workers. But I want to quickly jump to when you talk about contract workers. This is something that is well opted and created by the governments and governments of Grenada, and especially under this NNP administration, because they know fully well that when they engineer contract work, that these persons would not be getting pension. So the calculations and coming to the nation and say, billions of dollars of pension. Teachers who are temporary would not be receiving any pension. Public officers, nurses, and doctors and other persons who are temporary would not be receiving any pension. So this is why the teachers are crying out and they are hot, because the government did come out on record and say by March, they're going to regularize all these teachers, nurses, doctors, and other persons. And up to now, we come to March, the government placed on record, and they haven't done it as yet. So what they're engineering there is another form of poverty, suppressing the worker for a long period of time, another form of injustice. But it is well calculated for these persons not to be able to get pension because they do not have job security and permanent status.
We have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller. You're live.
Good morning, sir. It's good to hear you all. You know, my take on this is that if the government, since that the Prime Minister said already that look, we're not going to appeal, you should not be coming on the end saying you have to consider anything, because you paid lawyers, top lawyers, to represent you. And now the government have gone against you. You should be coming to tell the people, look, we're going to honor this, and there will not be any appeal. So there should not be any talk about considering the judgment, and that should not be at all. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. And just to be clear, because sometimes we do not want, in the process of a discourse, we do not want any ambiguity. We don't leave any room for ambiguity. We want it to be made unequivocally, make sure that when we've read the statement from the government, that, and again, just to be clear on this, it has never been asserted or insinuated in any way, form, or fashion that that is the government's position. So I don't want anybody to say that the union or anybody is actually intimating that. Again, the statement by the government of Grenada, delivered by the Minister of Legal Affairs, and just to scan through it, reports that the government of Grenada has decided to appeal a High Court ruling of March 29, 2022 against the state of Grenada on the pension issue is a contemporary misrepresentation. Representatives of government are yet to discuss at cabinet or legal levels, much less to come up with a decision and what its reaction should be on the matter. And I just want to make sure that we do not get that, for listeners and viewers, that we do not get lost in the conversation that is happening here. The government has indicated that it has not taken any decision. It has not decided in any way, form, or fashion in response to what is being heard in the public domain. So we just want to make that clear. I do not want you to say that either JC, GBN, or the union did articulate that. We just having a conversation around that. Gentlemen, go ahead. We're keeping our eyes on the clock. Reminding you can be part of the conversation. 435-2041. Let's go back to the telephone lines. There's a caller on the line. Good morning, caller.
Yes, Mr. Cadore.
Yes,
I want to stand in solidarity with the unions, and I'm thank God for that ruling that has come. But in my mind, if this government decides to appeal that judgment, it shows that the Prime Minister has absolutely no care, no regard for the law, and he has no love for the Grenadian people who he claimed put in there. And so if he appeals that, I just thinking of appealing that, I would consider it as a criminal act against the workers of this country. Thank you.
Gentlemen?
Yeah. Well, as far as it being a criminal act, it is a criminal act. What has been transpiring over the last near 40 years against the workers of this country. But we are a Christian nation, and we are called to forgive. government has an opportunity to be contrite. The leadership has an opportunity to be contrite about this matter and just speedily move to implementation of this. Now, the previous caller spoke to something that, I sit and watch and I just shake my head, Brother Cadore. You're talking about the fact that the administration spent millions of dollars, paid taxpayers' money to disenfranchise Grenadians, while, like I stated earlier, in 1989, they passed an act, a law, to make sure that they are fiscally and financially comfortable. And they have seen, I know politicians see it, because the workers who vote for them will come to them and cry to them, do something. So they know this. And time after time, they go in Parliament and they only pay lip service. I give homage to the arm of government with the judiciary for coming with this judgment to ensure that there is spiritual and moral cleansing in this country at this point in time.
We have another caller on the line. Good morning, caller. You're on live.
Oh, yes. Good morning to you and morning to your guests. I can't believe my ears. I'm struggling to believe what I heard. Is the leaders of this country, are they breaking down, or have they broken down mentally? Something is not right. I'm worried. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir. 435-2041, that is the number on the inside. Time is fast spent and it runs fast. And I know certainly before you leave, you're certainly, with any victory, there must be a celebration. And tomorrow, you take to the streets, jubilee. Gentlemen?
I just wanted to say that, all things we must give God thanks. All right? This day that the Lord has rejoice and be glad in it. Tomorrow is on Friday, is celebration. Mm-hmm. And we are calling upon all members of the Grenada Union of Teachers, those who retired. Is that it's not a threat or anything like that. We just, whatever we do is peacefully giving God thanks and praise and do like a march through the street, St. George's. We're going to start at the National Stadium. So the Technical and Allied Workers Union, PW workers, GUT, and everybody else, prison officers, everybody, you're welcome just to come out and persons who want to celebrate with us that victory. We must give God thanks and praise tomorrow. So we look forward to that, and we're asking everybody to come out and still to just do it right. Brother Grimes?
Yes. I would like to echo the sentiments of Brother Jude and say we must pay homage to the Most High for this judgment. We have been crying out in the wilderness like the children of Israel for their 40 years in this matter. And on the 2nd of March, we got that favorable judgment. So this cannot just pass as just a normal time. So there must be a celebration. So we are asking people to come out and celebrate with us this historic victory for Grenada, not just for workers. This is for Grenada as we march towards 50 years of independence.
This should probably be our last call for the day. Good morning, caller. You're alive. Hello, caller.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Cadore.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, greetings. I want to make a statement, but before I make the statement, I want to throw this out. Brothers and sisters, pay attention to the word untrustworthiness. Untrustworthiness. The question is this: are our leaders trustworthy? Brothers and sisters, for years we have seen in this here country, the same people elected by us to run this country have been abusing us, aided and abetted by a group of people who consider themselves to be legal luminaries, PhDs, big-headed jupers in law, who have mama-guided us and bluffed us and helped the administration to breach the said constitution in inverted commas. But there it is. It has come to the fore, and therefore the question is, can we continue to have people like this running our country? Brothers and sisters, we'll be doomed. I want you to suck this lollipop, and don't freak to suck it. It may be bitter, but suck it. Untrustworthiness, and whether it is suitable for the running of this here country into the future. Thank you very much, and have a nice day, will you?
Thank you very much, very much, caller. 5 minutes on to the hour in the morning time, gentlemen. We're literally out of time. Starting with you, Mr. Bartholomew, your parting words, your final words on the program.
Well, I just want to really thank you for inviting us to the program to discuss, this situation with pension ruling. I really want to thank GBN for that opportunity. I just want to say to teachers and public officers, it's a lesson for all of us, that, they must say that sadness comes in the night, but joy comes in the morning. And we have been waiting for a long period of time. It means a lesson. You might be hurting, but what the lesson here is that if we pull together, we work together as trade union movement, all right, whether GUT with PW and all the other organizations, and we cooperate and work together, we can move mountains. And I think that is the lesson here. And I want to take the opportunity to thank the teachers who are steadfast, even if they lose their salaries were down for the same pension issue, and public officers, they never give up. And so that victory here is not just only the lawyers and the executive or the presidents of the various unions, but the people behind the scene, the true, basically, heroes there are the teachers and public officers who were steadfast. And I could tell you, the Grenada Union of Teachers and its members led the way in that fight. All right, together with Brother Grimes and everybody else, we did not give up. And I just want to thank you and to say, may God bless us all. And we look forward to our due pension.
Thank you. Brian?
Yes, I want to thank Cadore and the GBN for giving the Grenada Public Workers Union and GUT also this platform to express our gratitude to all and sundry for this victory for Grenada. I would not say the union, this is for Grenada, because if this victory is upheld that we expect it to be upheld, it is symbolic of a transformation and a move in an improvement in our democracy. So we are happy. And this victory speaks to the resilience of the Grenadian people. We have marched, we have pleaded, we have cried, some have died without receiving their pension. And today marks a day going forward from March 29 that we can say that pension has been restored. So this is an example to the young people of our country, to all future generations, that you must persevere, you must keep the faith in God, and keep the faith in yourselves. Whatever you desire, once you put your mind to it and you put your effort towards it, it can be materialized once it's done in faith and unity. So we thank you, and we are appreciative of the platform. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, gentlemen. Again, we keep our eyes on the clock. It is indeed, as the union leaders have articulated, a watershed moment in the lives of all Grenadians, and certainly, in all honesty, a day that would forever be deeply engraved upon the tablets of our hearts. But even in that, to ensure that, in all fairness to all parties, again reminding you, notwithstanding the conversation that has been had here, a statement from the government of Grenada delivered by the Minister of Legal Affairs, Honorable Kindred Jude, as of March 30th, reports that the government of Grenada has decided to appeal a High Court ruling of March 29, 2022 against the state of Grenada on the pension issue is a contemporary misrepresentation. Representatives of the government, are yet to discuss at cabinet or legal level, much less to come up with a decision on what its reaction should be on the matter. As it stands now, the government awaits the written judgment and a full legal briefing. Any attempted representation of the government's reaction is premature and largely speculative, if not in so much instance mischievous. In the initial official statement Tuesday in reaction to the High Court ruling, the government reiterated its commitment to finding a permanent solution to the entire pension issue, while understanding it is an extremely difficult and complex issue. The only firm decision the government has taken in the 24 hours since the ruling is to declare its intention to invite the trade unions to have a discussion on the latest development. As it has been, especially since 2018, the government not only stands for open dialogue, but has initiated it on many occasions as part of its consultative approach on matters of national interest. The formal requests for continued dialogue will go out officially today, which was yesterday, the date on the correspondence, the March the 30th. In the meantime, there are a few things that must be made clear in this scenario. The government is completely committed to the cause of all workers. 2. While the matter is one that has been inherited by this and previous governments, there has never been a lack of commitment by at least this current government to find a lasting and fair solution. 3. Everyone must be cognizant that no government, now or in the immediate future, will be able to find immediately the over $1 billion required without bankrupting the entire society. The commitment to affected public workers is also extended to that of every Grenadian workers and indeed citizens, and the public and the general well-being of all must be part of the discussion. The court case is part of an extensive process that has been in train for years and encompasses many aspects. If the solution was simple and easy, it would have been dealt with at some point during the last 38 years by alternating NNP and NDC governments. It must be noted that while some previous governments shut the door on even discussing the issue of pension, it was this current government that invited the trade unions without being prodded to begin to explore ways in which we can solve the complex issue. As it stands at this very moment, public servants who retire are paid a monthly pension of 70% of their last salary, which is a combination of contribution from NIS and the government. The policy was initiated by the current government and embraced by the trade unions, as reflected in a memorandum that was signed 5 years ago. Hundreds of retired public servants are benefiting right now from the arrangement. Admittedly, there were no agreements on how to manage the issue of the 25% gratuity, and there have been several proposals on the table in that regards. The government has always insisted on acting responsibly on this complex matter, understanding that the claim is on the state of Grenada. The government compassion and concern are with all public servants, as they are with every other Grenadian who rightfully demands and expects better service in all spheres. We remain committed, confident, even in the face of all the challenges, that together we will reach a settlement and find a Grenadian solution to this almost insurmountable inheritance. We believe any solution must be fair to not just this past generation, but future and ones as well, and the future ones as well. Again, a statement there by the government of Grenada, delivered by the Ministry of Legal Affairs, the Honorable Kindred Stewart, and that statement is dated March 30th, 2022. To all of our listeners, viewers, wherever you are, I want to say thanks to my two comrades, President Jude Bartholomew and Brian Grimes. To all of our listeners and viewers, as we say every day, I encourage you to live life and love life. You treat each day as though it's your last day on planet Earth. And if by some measure you wake and you're still here, what do we do? As a union leaders, encourage you keep fighting the good fight until that good day. Until then, JC loves you. Have a great one, and thanks to all of the contributors, those on radio, those on social media. We appreciate the gesture. Until then, have a great one. So long.